Good evening, my friends, and welcome. Father Leo here, and I want to put on a few thoughts about Christmas. Now, it's very clear if you look at the world in which we live, Christmas has pretty well lost its true meaning. The spiritual dimension of Christmas either was never been known or it's been forgotten. And Christmas, of course, before a pandemic, was a time to rush out and spend a pile of money buying gifts, receiving gifts, and a big family dinner, and all the good things that went with that. And all those things are really good. However, the real meaning of Christmas has got lost. It really has. So let's go back and lay the foundation for Christmas. And the foundation goes back to the Big Bang. Now, God at the Big Bang began creation. God is manifested in material. Okay? And over 14 billion years, that material has been evolving, being creative, the cosmos, the universe, life on planet Earth, and of course, eventually people. But when Jesus came, he tried to tell the people, look, that's not the end of God's plan. God has a project, and the project is that the kingdom of God. Now, by the kingdom of God, Jesus meant a way of life that's saturated with love and justice. Love and justice. And that was shaping the people's lives, shaping their economic systems, shaping their political systems, shaping their cosmology. All of it was being shaped. And this is what Jesus started. And he taught. Jesus was first and primarily a teacher of the way of God. And he did choose, and he had a few disciples, and he told them, when I leave you, this is your job. Your job is to continue this, and that evolution will grab it, and it'll expand exponentially around the world. And so Christianity did. And the people were quite aware of what was happening and why they were being Christians and why they were called to love one another and to do justice. So there was the core. That's the core. But like I say, today that core's got lost for the most part. Not that Christians aren't nice people, but Jesus didn't need nice people. He needed people who were, first of all, opened up their own lives. And their lives were centered in their relationship with God.
Unknown caller.
That was a big thing. Separated, and everything they did would be somehow a manifestation of God. So with that in mind, when that phone keeps ringing, I go, there we are. I outpatient the phone. Anyway, but that's what happened, is it got lost. People have no idea why they're really here on earth. And Jesus made it very clear that we have appeared on earth with a mission. We have appeared here as people of God. We are living here in order to further creation, to further evolution, and above all, to further the movement of love of God and neighbor in the world and justice in the world. So that's the project of God, and that is to be our project. Whether we like it or not, it's there, and either we choose and buy into it or we don't. That's up to us. That's up to us. But I think it's clear that, so when we celebrate Christmas, so often it's a very infantile celebration. The little baby Jesus, the baby Jesus this, the baby Jesus that. Well, I think the first thing I need to say is Jesus grew up. Christianity is for adults. Christianity is for adults who grow up, not just age-wise or psychologically or intellectually, but who grow up spiritually. And I think that too is one of the things that has fallen by the wayside, is that a lot of people no longer are really working on their growth and transformation of their spirituality. I think it has pretty well fallen by the wayside. So again, that's up to each one of us. At one time, the church took over people's spirituality. But now that we have a generation of educated Catholics, many of them see themselves as being responsible for their own spiritual growth. Personal responsibility for their physical growth, their intellectual growth, their emotional growth, and their spiritual growth. Makes sense. It all goes together. It's one holistic, organic approach to life. And so that's kind of what I'm talking about here today. Now, unfortunately, because that we have Jesus as a little baby on Christmas, and even some churches, they'll have them carry up a live baby. What's the message? The message is Jesus is a little baby. Cute little guy, but harmless. That's not Jesus. Jesus grew up in wisdom, age, and grace. And so what's really telling us that we too need to grow up. We need to become mature Christians. We need to become people that are so in fire with the love of the Spirit and the love of God that we too are willing to be agents of change, agents of growth, agents for love, agents for justice. That's what it is when we're baptized. Now, I know a lot of people don't know that, so you can't blame people. No, I never blame people. It is what it is. But that's why today I'm saying no. We've got to definitely grow up and become adult Christians. And we've got to know well the real teachings of Jesus. It was a movement into the future. And somehow religion became organized, static, frozen, if you will, in time. And people realize that it's no longer relevant. It's no longer relevant. Evolution has bypassed us, and we've been left behind 300 or 400 years behind the times. So come on, let's get with it. And that's why I have to say to you, the few Christians that remain, adult Christians, I see so many signs that people, yes, have walked away from the organized religion. I know that. And I understand that. But I see a lot of mature Christians taking responsibility for their own spiritual growth and transformation. They are really taking seriously a commitment to be builders of the kingdom of God. Remember St. Francis of Assisi, when he came into the forefront of life, he discovered the church was, limping along, needed reworking, renewal. And one day he heard the voice saying to him, "Francis, rebuild my church." Now Francis thought to take it literally, and he got a hammer and nails and started to repair an old chapel. But then the light went on, and he realized to rebuild the church is the church of God. People's faith, people's understanding of what it means to be an adult Christian. And that's what then Francis invested his whole life in rebuilding the church. I see a lot of people today, and this is where my hope comes from. I see a lot of people today who, like St. Francis, are becoming mature. They're reading the Gospels really well and understanding the teachings of Jesus. They see the importance of being an agent for God in the building of the kingdom. They see themselves as being empowered by the Spirit to work at rebuilding the church. The church is going through a disaster right now. Organized religion. It's just crumbling from within. But the point is, I see thousands of Catholic people and other Christians who have said, no, we're going to rebuild the church, and it's going to be a movement. It's going to be faithful and true to the teachings of Jesus. And we are going to be active participants in the rebuilding of the church. And will not be a church with mighty cathedrals and fancy churches. No, that day's gone. It'll probably be small groups. Bible study groups, prayer groups, faith sharing groups, environmental groups, peace groups, nonviolent groups, all kinds of them, moved by the Spirit. And it'll take place probably in many people's home, or in the office, or in the workplace. Who knows? But it certainly will no longer be in those big churches. And I know that we as priests have got to change our way of pastoring. We know that Pope Francis has spoken out against clericalism. That somehow clericalism is not working. It's failing. It's really failing the people of God. So where ordained priests are going to fit in the future church, I have no idea. They may decide they don't need us anymore. Maybe I'm becoming obsolete. Well, if I am, I am. So what? But maybe we are. But maybe the younger priests who are following on my footsteps will adapt to the 21st century. The 21st century has to have an expression of God and God's love all its own. And I am hoping that the Spirit of the living God will come down and hit the clergy and set their hearts on fire with a love for God, a love for people, a love for the environment, a love for all of creation, a love for all of life. And that's it. And if they study well and bring together science and religion, because without science, religion lacks credibility. It lacks credibility. But with science, to booster it and to show it, and how they can come together in a harmonious one, it's going to be the religion of the future. The religion of the future. It's one of the first Bibles, one of the first catechisms is creation. It's nature. And nature and creation are our first teachers in the way of God. And we've got to reconnect with nature. Spend time in nature. Be silent in nature. The other thing we have to do is learn meditation. Be still and know I'm God. If you're not prepared or willing to be still every day, just to sit with God and let God be present and active within you, meditation, whatever you want to call it, whatever form it may take. But I'm really stressing that prayer. When you read the life of Jesus, prayer was at the heart of his ministry. And yet a lot of people today think they can get along without prayer. You're wrong. You're wrong. You can't. Prayer is an essential practice, an essential spiritual practice. And you cannot advance in growth and transformation in the love of God, love and justice. You can't do it. You can't do it. That's the work of God. And if we're not praying, then God's being left out of the picture. So here we come this Christmas, and I do indeed wish everybody a blessed Christmas. Many people will find it difficult because of the pandemic. It is a difficult time for us, where we really do have to trust. We have to trust our healthcare system, healthcare workers, people who are bringing forward vaccinations and all of that. And in doing this, I wish you the very best this Christmas. And I ask you, just remember one thing from my talk. Jesus grew up and became mature. Christians have got to grow up and become mature. And only then will they see that they are commissioned by God himself to cooperate with evolution and move forward his kingdom of God. A world of love and peace. And so I say, gracious God, God, please come and act in our lives. Help us to grow and be transformed. Help us to carry out our mission. Help us to carry out the reason we're here on planet Earth. Help us to see it. And once see it, to be willing enough to carry it out. So prayerfully, I wish you the very best. And may you be open and receptive to the Christ, the mature Christ. For that I pray. God bless.